Hi guys. I invite you to settle in. Find a comfortable place where you can let the weight of your body sink into the softness beneath you, and allow your mind to drift back, far back, into a world of silver and white. Imagine, if you will, the air around you becoming crisp and clean. The scent of ancient pine and frozen stone, filling your senses as we travel to a time when the earth breathed in a slow, icy rhythm. We are stepping into the heart of the great ice ages, a period where time seemed to stretch like the vast glaciers that covered the land, and where every breath was a testament to the quiet strength of life. In this world, the noise of the modern day fades into a profound, sacred silence, replaced only by the soft crunch of snow underfoot and the distant, low moan of the wind across the tundra. As we begin this journey together, let the coolness of this prehistoric realm soothe your thoughts, wrapping you in a blanket of stillness as we watch the first humans navigate a landscape of eternal winter, finding warmth in the flicker of a fire and peace in the vast, starlit expanse of a world reclaimed by ice. The world is waking up to a morning that has lasted for thousands of years, a morning where the sun rises pale and gold over a horizon of jagged, white peaks. You can see the light catching the edges of the ice, turning the world into a crystalline palace of light and shadow. The glaciers are not just walls of ice. They are living giants, moving with a slow, deliberate grace that defies the human sense of time. They groan and creak, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates through the soles of your feet, reminding you of the immense power held within the frozen earth. As you stand on a high ridge, looking out over the plains, the silence is so heavy, it feels like a physical presence, a gentle weight that encourages you to breathe deeply and slowly. The air is thin and sharp, cooling your lungs with every inhale, and as you exhale, your breath forms a soft white cloud that lingers for a moment before dissolving into the crisp atmosphere. Everything here is simplified, reduced to the essential elements of survival and beauty. The sky is a deep, endless blue, unmarred by anything but the occasional drift of a high wispy cloud, and the land below is a tapestry of white, gray, and the muted browns of hardy shrubs clinging to the permafrost. Below the ridge, a small group of people moves across the snow, their figures dark and rhythmic against the blinding white. They do not hurry. In this world, haste is a waste of precious energy. Every movement is calculated, every step placed with care to avoid the deep drifts that could swallow a person whole. They are dressed in thick, heavy furs, mammoth hide, reindeer skin, and the soft, insulating pelts of Arctic foxes. These garments are not just clothing, they are a second skin, a barrier between the warmth of their bodies and the biting chill of the environment. You can see the frost clinging to their eyelashes and the edges of their hoods, turning them into creatures of the ice themselves. They walk in a single line, following the path worn by the great herds of animals that share this landscape. There is a profound sense of connection here, a realization that they are not separate from the world around them, but a vital part of its intricate, frozen clockwork. They watch the horizon for the movement of the mammoth, those shaggy titans whose presence is felt even when they are not seen, their deep bellows echoing through the valleys like the voice of the earth itself. As the sun begins its slow descent, the colors of the world shift from brilliant white to shades of lavender, rose, and deep indigo. The shadows stretch long across the snow, turning the landscape into a dreamscape of shifting shapes. The group finds shelter in the lee of a great limestone cliff, a place where the wind cannot reach them. They move with an ancient efficiency, clearing a space for their hearth. The sound of flint striking stone is a rhythmic, comforting pulse, a spark, a wisp of smoke, and then the first tiny flame licks at the dry moss and twigs they have carried with them. This fire is their sun, their heart, their sanctuary. As the flames grow, casting a warm amber glow against the cold stone walls, the group huddles closer. The crackle of the wood is the only music they need, a soothing counterpoint to the howling wind that has begun to pick up outside their sheltered nook. They share a meal of dried meat and berries gathered during the short, fleeting summer, the taste of the earth lingering on their tongues. There is no talk of the future or the past, only the present moment, the warmth of the fire, the closeness of their companions, and the steady, reassuring beat of their own hearts. The night falls completely now, and the stars emerge with a brilliance that is almost overwhelming. Away from the lights of any city, the Milky Way is a river of silver fire flowing across the vault of heaven. The constellations are familiar friends, guiding markers in a world where the land is constantly changing under the weight of the ice. The first humans look up at these stars with a sense of wonder and belonging, sensing that the same rhythm that moves the stars also moves the blood through their veins. They see the northern lights beginning to dance on the horizon sheets of emerald and violet, light that shimmer and fold like silk in the wind. To them, these are the spirits of the ancestors, or perhaps the breath of the great sky beasts, watching over the world while it sleeps. The light of the aurora reflects in the still pools of ice, creating a world of shifting color that feels both alien and deeply like home as they settle down for the night. Buried deep beneath their furs, the cold outside becomes a distant thought. The fire has burned down to a bed of glowing embers, a soft red eye in the darkness. They sleep in a tangle of limbs and fur, sharing their body heat, their breaths falling into a synchronized rhythm. In their dreams, they are running across the great steppes, the grass tall and golden under a summer sun that never sets. They see the great lions with their thick manes and the saber-toothed cats prowling the edges of the forest. But even in sleep, they are aware of the ice. It is the foundation of their world, the silent partner in their dance of survival. The glaciers continue their slow, inexorable march, grinding the mountains into dust, shaping the valleys that will one day hold the rivers of the future. But for now, everything is still. The earth is resting, held in the frozen embrace of the great white. The silence of the Ice Age is not an empty silence. It is a full, resonant quiet, like the pause between two notes in a long, beautiful song. It is a time of waiting, of endurance, and of a quiet, fierce beauty that the modern world has largely forgotten. As you listen to the story of these first wanderers, let your own breath become slow and steady, mirroring theirs. Feel the coolness of the air on your skin and the warmth of the imaginary fire at your feet. There is a safety in this cold, a sense of being protected by the very harshness of the environment. No one can reach you here. The modern world is a million miles away, a ghost of a future that hasn't happened yet. Here, there is only the ice, the stars, and the slow, steady pulse of life continuing against all odds. You can imagine the feeling of the heavy mammoth hide over your shoulders, the weight of it comforting and solid. It smells of wood smoke and the wild, open spaces. You are part of this small tribe, a vital link in a chain that stretches back to the beginning of time. Together, you watch the moon rise over the frozen lake, its light turning the ice into a sheet of polished silver. You can hear the distant howl of a wolf, a lonely, haunting sound that reinforces the vastness of the wilderness. But you are not afraid. The wolf is part of this world too, a hunter following the same ancient laws that you follow. There is a balance here, a harmony that brings a deep sense of peace to your soul. The world is as it should be, vast, cold, and infinitely beautiful. As the hours of the night pass, the constellations shift slowly across the sky. The Great Bear turns about the North Star, a slow celestial dance that has been performed for eons. The frost grows thicker on the stones at the mouth of the cave, creating intricate patterns of lace and diamonds that glitter in the starlight. Inside, the embers of the fire occasionally pop and hiss, a small, cozy sound in the vastness of the dark. You feel a sense of profound rest, the kind of rest that only comes when you are completely in tune with the natural world. Your thoughts drift like the falling snow-soft light, and settling quietly on the landscape of your mind. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. You are exactly where you are meant to be. held in the quiet cradle of the prehistoric night. The glaciers, miles away, continue their slow movement, a sound like a distant thunder that only adds to the sense of tranquility. It is the sound of the earth changing, of the world being remade in the image of the ice. This is the era of the great frozen world, a time of giants and of the small, resilient humans who walked among them. It is a story of echoes, the echo of footsteps on the snow, the echo of a song sung around a fire, the echo of the wind through the ribcage of a fallen mammoth. These echoes travel through time, reaching out to us in our quiet moments, reminding us of the strength and the beauty of the life that came before. As we drift further into the night, the image of the frozen world remains, a steady and calming presence. The white plains, the blue glaciers, and the golden firelight create a tapestry of peace that wraps around you. You are safe, you are warm, and you are part of the eternal story of the earth. The blue light of the pre-dawn hours settles over the valley like a heavy, velvet cloak, pressing the remaining shadows into the crevices of the earth. Inside the shelter, a structure woven from the sturdy ribs of the great mammoths and draped in thick, weathered hides. The air is thick with the scent of wood, ash, musk, and the lingering warmth of bodies pressed together in sleep. There is no sound yet but the rhythmic, synchronized breathing of the small tribe, a low and steady pulse that seems to mirror the slow heartbeat of the frozen earth itself. The frost has crept along the edges of the entrance, forming delicate, branching patterns that glisten faintly in the dimness, each crystal a tiny, sharp masterpiece of the night's cold labor. A single ember, buried deep within the hearth's gray ash, glows with a dull, persistent orange light. A tiny sun waiting to be brought back to life. One of the hunters stirs, the movement slow and heavy, the rustle of his fur bedding sounding like the dry whisper of wind through the winter grass. He does not rush to rise. In this world, the transition from the world of dreams to the world of ice is a gradual process, a slow unfolding of the senses. He watches the silver light grow stronger beyond the threshold, feeling the immense weight of the silence that blankets the landscape. It is a silence so profound that it feels like a physical substance, a cold ocean of air that has swallowed the world whole. The morning sun eventually crests the jagged horizon, but it offers little warmth, appearing as a pale, shimmering disk that struggles to pierce the hazy layers of frozen mist. As the tribe awakens, there are no loud greetings or sharp movements. They move with a quiet, efficient grace, their gestures refined by generations of living in a world where every action is a conservation of energy. A woman reaches out to the hearth, her hands weathered and strong, and begins the morning ritual of feeding the fire. She breathes softly onto the hidden ember, her breath a warm white cloud that mingles with the rising smoke. With a gentle touch, she adds dried moss and thin shavings of birch bark, watching as the tiny spark catches and climbs, the first yellow flames licking at the air. The crackle of the wood is the first voice of the day, a cheerful, domestic sound that pushes back the encroaching chill. Around the fire, the tribe begins to prepare for the day's journey, their hands moving through the familiar tasks of checking seams in their boots and tightening the thongs of their leggings. Their clothing is a marvel of ancient ingenuity, layers of soft inner furs and tough outer hides sewn together with fine needles of bone and thread made from animal sinew. Every stitch is a prayer for warmth, a barrier against the biting wind that waits for them outside the shelter's walls. Stepping out into the open, air is like submerged into a pool of liquid silver. The cold is immediate and absolute, a sharp sting that awakens the skin and clarifies the mind. The landscape is a study in vastness, an endless expanse of the mammoth steppe where the horizon seems to stretch into infinity. The ground beneath their feet is frozen solid, the permafrost a foundation of iron and ice that rings with a hollow, metallic sound as they begin to walk. They move in a long, undulating line, their eyes constantly scanning the white world for signs of life. To the untrained eye, the steppe might seem barren, but to these people, it is a rich and complex map. They see the subtle variations in the snow's texture, the way the wind has carved it into frozen waves and ridges that tell the story of the night's storms. They notice the faint, dusted tracks of an Arctic hare and the deeper, heavier indentations left by a lone muskox. These markings are the language of the land, a silent conversation that they have learned to read since birth. The air is so clear that distances become deceptive. A distant mountain range looks close enough to touch, its peaks glowing with an ethereal, crystalline light that seems to radiate from within the stone itself. As they trek further into the white expanse, the sound of the wind begins to rise, a low, melodic moan that vibrates through the empty spaces of the valley. It carries with it the fine, powdery snow, lifting it from the ground in swirling ghosts of white that dance across their path. They pull their hoods closer, the soft fur of the wolverine lining the edges, protecting their faces from the frostbite. The rhythm of their walking becomes a form of meditation, a steady, unhurried pace that keeps the blood moving without overtaxing the lungs. They are following the Great Migration, the ancient path taken by the herds of reindeer that move like a shifting gray sea across the tundra. In the distance, they see the first signs of the herd of forest of antlers rising above a ridge, moving in a slow, undulating wave. The sight brings a sense of quiet satisfaction, a reassurance that the cycle of life continues despite the overwhelming presence of the ice. The reindeer are their lifeblood, providing meat for the belly, hides for the home, and bone for the tools that allow them to survive. There is no sense of dominance over these animals, only a profound, humble connection, a realization that they are all wanderers in the same frozen kingdom. The midday sun hangs low in the sky, casting long, pale blue shadows that stretch across the snow like reaching fingers. The group pauses to rest in the shelter of a large errant boulder, a massive piece of granite dropped here by a receding glacier ages ago. They share a small portion of pemmican, a dense mixture of fat and dried meat that provides the concentrated energy needed to fuel their bodies against the cold. They eat in silence, their eyes always roaming the horizon, watching the play of light and shadow on the distant ice sheets. The glaciers are always there, a constant and towering presence on the edge of their world. They are vast, frozen rivers of blue and white, their surfaces scarred by deep crevasses that glow with an intense, sapphire light. From time to time, a sound like a crack of thunder echoes across the plains, the sound of the glacier shifting, a reminder of the slow and irresistible power of the ice. It is a sound that commands respect, a voice of the earth that speaks of deep time and the slow shaping of the world. The tribe listens to the echo as it fades into the wind, their faces calm and observant, accepting the power of the landscape as an immutable fact of their existence. The afternoon light begins to soften, turning the world into a palette of gold and amber. They begin the search for a place to spend the night, looking for a spot where the snow is deep enough to provide insulation, but firm enough to support a shelter. They find a hollow protected by a stand of stunted, wind-blown pines, their branches heavy with a thick crust of frost. Working together, they begin to clear the area, their movements synchronized and rhythmic. They use large, flat bones to scoop away the snow, reaching the hard earth beneath. There is a sense of peace in the labor, a grounding connection to the physical reality of the world. They talk in low, melodic tones, their voices barely rising above the whisper of the trees. The language they speak is rich with words for the different states of snow, the varying temperatures of the wind, and the subtle behaviors of the animals they track. It is a language born of the ice, shaped by the needs of a people who live in constant dialogue with the elements. As the new shelter begins to take shape, the sense of security returns, a small, fragile bubble of human warmth in the middle of a vast and indifferent wilderness. As the sun dips below the horizon, the sky erupts in a final, spectacular display of color. Streaks of fiery orange, deep crimson, and bruised purple stretch across the heavens. reflecting in the ice crystals that hang suspended in the air. For a few brief moments, the world is transformed into a realm of fire and light, the cold forgotten in the face of such overwhelming beauty. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the color fades, replaced by the deepening indigo of twilight. The first stars begin to prick through the fabric of the sky, shimmering with a cold, distant intensity. The tribe retreats into their new shelter, the fire once again becoming the center of their universe. The smell of roasting meat fills the small space, a rich and savory aroma that speaks of comfort and survival. They sit close together, the warmth of the flames reflecting in their dark eyes. In this moment, the vastness of the Ice Age seems to shrink, focused down to the golden circle of the hearth and the steady, reassuring presence of one another. Outside, the temperature drops precipitously, the air becoming so cold that it seems to crackle with every movement. The trees groan under the weight of the frost, and the ice on the nearby lake moans as it expands and contracts in the grip of the night. But inside the circle of hides, there is a profound sense of peace. The children lean against their elders, listening to the soft, rhythmic chanting of a story of the great bear who painted the sky with light, or the first mammoth who walked the world into being. These stories are the threads that bind the generations together, a cultural memory that is as essential to their survival as the furs they wear or the fires they build. The narrative flow is slow and steady, a verbal river that carries them through the long hours of the dark. As the fire burns down to a low, comforting hum, the tribe prepares for sleep once more. They wrap themselves in their heavy robes, the weight of the furs providing a sense of grounding and safety. The gray light of a heavy snow-laden sky begins to filter through the cracks of the shelter, marking the passage from the deep, velvet darkness of the night into a soft, muted morning. There is a weight to the air today, a stillness that suggests the clouds above are full and ready to release their crystalline burden upon the world. Inside the dwelling, the embers of the fire have been carefully tended, kept alive through the long hours of the night like a precious secret. The warmth it provides is a living thing, a gentle pulse of heat that fights back against the encroaching frost. As the tribe stirs, there is a collective, slow movement, a shifting of heavy furs, and the soft sound of feet finding their way across the packed earth floor. They move with a quiet reverence for the morning, acknowledging the gift of another day in a world where the cold is a constant companion. The air within the shelter is thick with the scent of dried herbs, the earthy musk of animal skins, and the faint, sweet smell of pine resin. A young woman reaches for a bowl carved from the knot of an ancient tree, filling it with melted snow that has been warmed by the hearth. The steam rises in a delicate, swirling column, catching the dim light and creating a momentary bridge between the physical world and the realm of spirits. She drinks slowly, feeling the warmth spread through her chest, a simple but profound comfort that anchors her to the present moment. Outside, the landscape has been transformed into a world of soft contours and hidden depths. The wind, which had moaned so fiercely during the night, has settled into a gentle whisper, barely enough to stir the fine dusting of snow that clings to the branches of the hardy shrubs. The tribe prepares to step out into this white silence, their movements deliberate and filled with a quiet strength. Today, they will follow the trail of the giants, the great woolly mammoths whose paths through the deep snow create corridors for smaller creatures to follow. As they emerge from the shelter, the sheer scale of the world becomes apparent once more. The horizon is a hazy line where the white of the earth meets the gray of the sky, creating a sense of being inside a vast, pearlescent shell. The silence is so absolute that the sound of a single snapping twig resonates like a drumbeat, echoing through the still air. They walk in the tracks left by the mammoths, deep, circular depressions that provide a firmer footing than the surrounding drifts. Each step is a rhythmic compression of the snow, a soft crump that marks their progress across the tundra. The cold is a living presence, brushing against any exposed skin with a sharp, tingling touch, but they are well. Their bodies encased in layers of insulation that have been perfected over thousands of years. In the distance, the silhouettes of the mammoths begin to appear, moving like slow-moving hills across the plain. They are magnificent creatures, their long, reddish-brown hair swaying with every step, their massive tusks curving like the arcs of a forgotten moon. The mammoths move with a dignity that matches the landscape, their breath forming great plumes of steam that rise into the cold air like the exhaust of some ancient, earthbound engine. The tribe watches them from a respectful distance, their eyes filled with a mixture of awe and recognition. These are the kings of the ice, the builders of the paths, and the providers of life. The humans see the way the mammoths use their trunks to clear the snow from the buried grasses, a patient and tireless labor that reveals the hidden bounty of the earth. There is a profound sense of shared existence here. The humans and the mammoths are both children of the cold, bound together by the search for sustenance and the need for endurance. The sound of the mammoth's low-frequency rumbles can be felt in the chest of the watchers, a deep, resonant vibration that speaks of ancient memories and the enduring bonds of the herd. It is a sound that connects the tiny human group to the vast, geological time of the glaciers, a reminder that they are part of a much larger story. As the morning progresses, the promised snow begins to fall. It does not come in a rush, but in a slow, hypnotic descent of large, lacy flakes that drift through the air like the feathers of a celestial bird. The world becomes even quieter, if such a thing is possible, as the falling snow muffles all sound, creating a private, enclosed space for each individual. The hunters pause, tilting their heads back to feel the cold touch of the flakes on their faces. It is a moment of pure sensory experience, a quiet communion with the elements. The snow settles on their furs, turning them into white phantoms that blend seamlessly into the environment. They move with the snow, not against it, allowing the rhythm of the storm to dictate their pace. They are looking for a specific type of flint, a stone that can be found in the outcrops of a nearby ridge, revealed by the scouring action of the wind. The search is a patient one, requiring a keen eye for the subtle color and texture of the rock. When a piece is found, it is turned over in the hand, the thumb tracing the sharp edges where the ice has already begun to flake the stone. This flint is the key to their survival, the material that will be shaped into spear points, scrapers, and knives. Each tool a testament to the ingenuity and skill of their hands. Under the shelter of a rocky overhang, the group gathers to work the stone. The rhythmic clack-clack of stone hitting stone is a comforting, industrious sound that cuts through the muffled silence of the snowfall. They work with a focused intensity, their hands moving with a precision that has been passed down from father to son, mother to daughter. There is a deep satisfaction in the shaping of the flint, the way the stone yields to the practiced strike, revealing the sharp, glass-like edge within. As they work, they speak in low voices, sharing stories of the hunt and the movements of the animals. Their words are sparse but meaningful, each sentence a pearl of wisdom earned through experience. They talk of the way the ice moves in the high mountains, of the signs of an early spring, and of the behavior of the great cats that prowl the edges of the forest. These stories are the map of their world, a collective knowledge that ensures the survival of the tribe. The rock overhang protects them from the direct fall of the snow, creating a small, dry sanctuary where the smell of dust and struck flint mingles with the cold. Fresh air. The light of the day remains a constant, silvery gray, never quite brightening into full sun. This is the quality of time in the Ice Age, a long, slow unfolding of light and shadow, where the hours bleed into one another. The tribe takes time to mend their clothing, using bone needles and fine sinew thread to repair the small tears caused by the brush and the stone. The act of sewing is a meditative one, a repetitive motion that allows the mind to wander through the landscape of memory. They think of the summer months, when the tundra is a carpet of tiny, vibrant flowers, and the sun stays high in the sky for long, golden hours. They remember the taste of fresh berries and the sound of running water in the streams that emerge from the melting ice. These memories are like warm embers held in the heart, providing a mental refuge from the cold of the present. But there is no sadness in the remembering, only a recognition of the cycles of the earth. They know that the ice will eventually retreat, just as they know it will always return. They are a part of this rhythm, as steady and unchanging as the movement of the stars, as the afternoon begins to fade into the deeper gray of twilight. The tribe begins their journey back to the main shelter. They carry with them the fruits of their labor, the shaped flints, the gathered wood, and the shared stories of the day. The snowfall has tapered off, leaving the world covered in a thick, pristine blanket of white that sparkles faintly in the dying light. Their tracks from the morning have been partially filled, creating a softened, ghostly trail that leads them home. The air has grown even colder, the moisture in their breath freezing instantly into tiny crystals that cling to their hair and furs. Yet, there is a sense of accomplishment and peace as they walk. They have met the day on its own terms and have found what they needed to continue. The sight of the shelter, its rounded shape huddled against the landscape, brings a surge of warmth to their spirits. Smoke rises from the smoke hole, a thin blue ribbon that signals the presence of the fire and the safety of the hearth. Inside, the evening meal is being prepared. A large haunch of reindeer meat is roasting slowly over the flames, the fat dripping into the fire with a rhythmic hiss and pop. The aroma is intoxicating, filling the small space with a sense of abundance and security. The tribe gathers around the fire, their faces glowing in the amber light. They share the food with a quiet solemnity, recognizing the sacrifice of the animal and the skill of the hunter. The warmth of the fire seeps into their bones, easing the aches of the day and softening the sharp edges of the cold. As they eat, the conversation turns to the dreams of the previous night, the symbols and signs that the spirits have sent to guide them. They see the world as a place of hidden meanings, where every animal and every gust of wind has a voice. To listen to these voices is to be truly alive, to be in harmony with the vast, unfolding mystery of the prehistoric world. The night outside is absolute, a deep and fathomless dark that stretches from the earth to the furthest reaches of the cosmos. The stars are hidden behind the remaining clouds, but their presence is felt in the heavy, expectant quality of the air. The world remains caught in a crystalline grip, a state of suspension where the very passage of time seems to have been frozen into the glaciers themselves. As the light of another day begins to wash over the valley, it brings with it a pale, ethereal glow that turns the snow into a sea of crushed diamonds, each flake reflecting the soft, muted colors of the dawn. We find the tribe moving along the edge of a great, frozen river, a massive vein of solid glass that winds its way through the heart of the tundra. The river is silent now, its summer song of rushing water replaced by the deep, resonant groans of shifting ice. Below the surface, the water still moves, a slow and secret current that flows beneath a ceiling of frost, but from above, it is a highway of stillness. The humans walk along its banks, their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of snow that blankets the earth, their eyes fixed on the horizon, where the sun struggles to climb higher than the tops of the frozen pines. There is a specific quality to the light here, a soft, diffused radiance that makes everything seem both solid and spectral at the same time. The air is so cold that it feels thick, a heavy veil that slows every movement and encourages a state of quiet contemplation. As they walk, the only sound is the rhythmic, steady crunch of their boots and the distant, haunting call of a raven, a black speck against the infinite gray-blue of the sky. The raven is a sentinel of the ice, a clever survivor that watches the movements of the humans and the animals with a keen, calculating eye, its voice a reminder that even in this frozen wilderness, life is always observant, always waiting. They are heading toward a series of limestone caves that mark the boundary between the open steppe and the rising foothills of the great mountains. These caves are more than just shelters. They are the memory keepers of the tribe, places where the walls hold the stories of those who came before. As they approach the dark openings in the cliff face, the air changes, becoming warmer and carrying the faint, metallic scent of damp stone and ancient dust. The transition from the blinding white of the outside world to the soft velvet shadows of the cave is a relief to the eyes, a gentle folding into the embrace of the earth. Inside, the ceiling rises into high, vaulted chambers where the water has dripped for millennia, forming stalactites that hang like frozen tears from the roof. The humans move deep into the heart of the cave, guided by the flickering light of torches made from bundles of resinous wood. The orange glow of the fire dances across the uneven surfaces of the walls, bringing to life the paintings that cover the sweeping outlines of mammoths, bison, and horses, rendered in earth tones of ochre, charcoal, and red clay. These are not merely decorations. They are the soul of the people, a way to anchor themselves in a world that is constantly shifting under the weight of the ice. They touch the cold stone with reverence, their fingers tracing the lines of an animal that was hunted generations ago, feeling a connection that transcends the boundaries of life and death. In the center of the main chamber, they begin the slow work of the day. A small fire is built, its smoke rising to disappear into the hidden fissures of the ceiling. The warmth begins to radiate outward, softening the chill of the cave and creating a sanctuary of light. A woman sits on a pile of soft reindeer furs, her lap filled with small pieces of red ochre she has gathered from a hidden seam in the rock. She begins to grind the stone into a fine powder, using a smooth, heavy cobble and a flat slab of limestone. The sound of the grinding is a steady, hypnotic rhythm, a low, grainy whisper that fills the quiet space. She mixes the powder with animal fat and a little water, creating a thick, vibrant paste that feels cool and slick between her fingers. This pigment is the blood of the earth, a substance that allows them to bring the spirits of the animals into their world. She begins to paint a new figure on a clean stretch of wall, her movements slow and deliberate. She does not use a brush, but her own hands and a small piece of fur, dabbing and stroking the pigment onto the stone until the form of a great Irish elk begins to emerge. The elk, with its massive palmate antlers, is a symbol of grace and endurance, a creature that moves through the deep snow with an elegance that defies the harshness of the environment. As she works, she hums a low, wordless melody, a song that has no beginning and no end, a sound that settles into the very bones of the listeners and brings a sense of profound peace. Nearby, the men are preparing their hunting gear, but their movements are equally quiet and focused. They are not preparing for a frantic chase, but for the patient, strategic wait that characterizes life in the Ice Age. They check the hafts of their spears, ensuring that the flint points are bound tightly with sinew and sealed with a mixture of birch pitch and beeswax. They handle the weapons with a quiet familiarity, knowing that their lives and the lives of their families depend on the integrity of these simple tools. There is no bravado here, only a deep, humble respect for the task at hand. They talk in hushed tones about the movements of the bison, noting the way the wind has been blowing from the north and what it means for the herd's migration. They observe the subtle changes in the behavior of the snowy owls and the foxes, gathering information from every living thing around them. In this world, knowledge is as essential as fire, and it is shared with a generosity that ensures the survival of the whole group. The children sit close by, their eyes wide as they watch the elders, absorbing the lessons of survival through silent observation. They learn the shape of a track, the smell of a change in the weather, and the importance of stillness. They are being woven into the fabric of the tribe, their small lives becoming part of the long, enduring story of the ice. As the afternoon light outside the cave begins to fail, the tribe gathers for a period of rest. The cave offers a different kind of security than the temporary shelters of the steppe. It is a permanent anchor, a place that has seen the rise and fall of countless winters. They lay out their bedding, arranging the thick furs to create a communal nest. The scent of the cave stone, wood smoke, and the lingering musk of the earth is comforting, a reminder of the protection that the land provides to those who know how to ask for it. They share a meal of roasted marrow and dried meat, the rich fats providing the long-burning energy their bodies need to maintain their warmth. The act of eating is slow and communal, a time for sharing the quiet observations of the day. They speak of the beauty of the frost on the river and the way the sun looked as it dipped behind the mountains. There is a profound appreciation for these small things, a recognition that in a world of ice, every moment of warmth and light is a precious gift. The fire burns with a steady, comforting hum, its light casting long, soft shadows that play across the painted animals on the walls, making them seem to breathe and move in the flickering glow. Outside, the temperature continues to plummet as the stars begin to emerge in the clear, cold sky. The world of the steppe is once again reclaimed by the darkness and the biting wind, but inside the cave, the humans are safe. The stone walls, thick and ancient, hold the warmth of the fire and the collective heat of the group. As they settle down for sleep, the woman who was painting looks one last time at the figure of the elk. In the dim light, the animal seems to be watching over them, a guardian spirit, born of the earth and the human imagination. She feels a sense of completion, a quiet satisfaction in having added her voice to the chorus of the cave. She lays down among her kin, the weight of the furs settling over her like a heavy, warm blanket. Her breath slows, joining the rhythmic breathing of the others, a collective sigh that echoes the pulse of the earth. The cave is silent now, save for the occasional pop of a dying ember and the distant, muffled sound of the wind howling across the valley far below. In their dreams, they are not separate from the ice or the animals. They are part of a seamless whole. They dream of the great migration, of the feel of the sun on their backs during the short, vibrant summer, and of the deep, echoing songs of the whales in the distant, frozen seas. These dreams are a form of travel, a way for the spirit to roam the vast landscapes of the prehistoric world, while the body rests and recovers. They are dreams of endurance and beauty, of a life lived in perfect harmony with the cycles of the planet. The ice is not an enemy to be conquered, but a powerful, silent partner in the dance of existence. It shapes the land, it dictates the movement of the herds, and it provides the stillness in which the human spirit can truly listen to the voice of the world. As the night deepens, the silence within the cave becomes a sacred thing, a space where the noise of survival falls away, leaving only the pure, unadorned essence of being. The glaciers, miles away, continue their slow, relentless work. The sound of their grinding movement, a low vibration that is felt rather than heard. It is the sound of the earth breathing, a slow and deep inhalation that lasts for thousands of years. The humans in the cave are attuned to this rhythm, their lives a small but vital part of the great frozen symphony. They sleep with a profound sense of belonging, knowing that they are exactly where they are meant to be. The transition from the deep, stone-wrought silence of the cave back into the expansive, white light of the tundra is a slow and sensory awakening, a gradual shedding of the cave's earthy scent for the sharp, ozone-rich air of the open plains. As the tribe emerges from the limestone threshold, the world greets them with a sky the color of a pale robin's egg, brushed with long thin streaks of high-altitude clouds that seem frozen in place. The sun, a low-hanging jewel of cold fire, casts a golden-white sheen over the vast snowfields, making the eyes squint until they adjust to the brilliance of a world made entirely of crystal and light. There is no wind this morning, only a stillness so profound that the heartbeat feels like a rhythmic drum in the ears, and the sound of one's own breath becomes a steady, comforting companion. They begin their march toward the north, where a series of frozen lakes lie, nestled between the low-slung hills, their surfaces offering a different kind of path through the rugged terrain. Each step is a mindful negotiation with the earth, The snow here has been wind-packed into a firm crust that rings with a subtle, glass-like chime under the weight of their fur-wrapped feet. The humans move with a collective patience, a silent understanding that they are not traversing the land so much as they are part of its slow, seasonal breath. They are heading toward the singing ice, a place where the deep waters of the earth are locked beneath a transparent ceiling, and where the voices of the planet can be heard vibrating through the soles of their boots as they reach the edge of the first great lake. The vista opens up into a shimmering expanse of turquoise and charcoal gray. The ice is thick, layered by successive freezes into a solid, translucent floor that reveals the secrets of the depths below. You can look down and see the trapped bubbles of air, frozen in mid-rise like strings of pearls, and the dark, swaying shapes of water plants caught in an eternal, icy sleep. The lake is alive with sound, a phenomenon that the tribe listens to with a sense of quiet wonder. As the temperature shifts with the rising sun, the ice expands and contracts, sending long, booming moans and high-pitched pings echoing across the surface. It is a haunting, beautiful music, the song of the ice that sounds like the plucking of 1,000 giant strings. The humans walk across this musical landscape with a practiced lightness, their eyes scanning the clear depths and the distant shores. There is a sense of weightlessness here, a feeling of gliding over a world that is usually hidden from view. They stop for a moment in the center of the lake, where the horizon is a perfect circle of white peaks and blue sky. In this moment, the vastness of the Ice Age is not intimidating, but rather a source of immense peace. A realization of the grand scale of the world and their small, sacred place within it. They breathe in the cold, clean air, letting it fill their lungs and sharpen their senses, feeling a profound connection to the elemental forces that have shaped this land. In the distance, along the snow-covered shoreline, a movement catches the eye of the lead hunter. It is not the heavy, rolling gait of a mammoth or the skittish trot of a reindeer, but something more fluid, more shadow-like. A saber-toothed cat emerges from a stand of frost-covered willow, its tawny fur a soft contrast to the blinding white of the snow. The creature moves with a regal, effortless grace, its powerful shoulders rippling beneath a coat designed for the deep cold. Its long, curved canines glisten like icicles in the sunlight. The tribe watches the great cat, and the cat watches them. A silent exchange of respect between two of the world's most resilient predators. There is no fear in this encounter, only a quiet acknowledgement of the other's presence. The cat is not hunting now. It is merely moving through its territory, a ghost of the ice that embodies the fierce beauty of the era. It pauses, its golden eyes reflecting the sun, before vanishing back into the silver shadows of the brush. The humans continue their journey, their hearts beating with a calm, steady rhythm, enriched by the sight of such a magnificent neighbor. They understand that in this world, life is balanced on a fine edge, and every creature from the smallest lemming to the greatest catties, a vital thread in the tapestry of survival. The group moves toward a patch of dwarf, birch and willow, that clings to a rocky outcrop near the lake's edge. This is their destination for the midday light, a place to gather the brittle, frozen branches that will serve as fuel for their fires and material for their crafts. The gathering is a tactile and rhythmic process. The wood is so cold it feels like stone, snapping with a sharp, clean sound that punctuates the silence. They handle the branches with care, feeling the texture of the bark and the weight of the wood, selecting only what is needed and what the land can spare. There is a meditative quality to the work, a repetitive cycle of reaching, snapping, and stowing that allows the mind to drift into a state of quiet reflection. They think of the fire that this wood will eventually feed, the way the flames will dance and the warmth will seep into their tired limbs. The work is a bridge to the future, a way of ensuring that the comfort of the hearth will be there when the sun eventually dips below the horizon. As they work, the children find small treasures in the snow-shed antler, a strangely shaped stone, or a tuft of soft mammoth wool caught on a thorn. These objects are examined with great interest, held in small hands, as if they were the most precious jewels in the world. In the Ice Age, the simplest things hold the greatest meaning, and every find is a story waiting to be told. The light of the afternoon begins to take on a deeper, more golden hue, casting long, violet shadows across the lake and the surrounding hills. The tribe decides to rest near the rocky outcrop, using the stones as a windbreak against the gentle breeze that has begun to stir. They clear a small area of snow, reaching the frozen peat beneath, and prepare a simple meal of dried fish and fat. The act of sharing food is a silent ritual of communal strength. They sit in a circle, their backs against the sun-warmed stone, watching the light play across the ice they have just traversed. The lake now looks like a sheet of hammered gold, its surface reflecting the brilliance of the sky. The silence of the afternoon is broken only by the occasional thrum of the ice and the soft, rhythmic chewing of the group. There is a profound sense of contentment in this rest, a feeling of being completely present in a world that asks for nothing but awareness and endurance. They watch a pair of snowy owls glide silently over the tundra, their white wings nearly invisible against the sky, their movements a study in effortless efficiency. The world seems to be slowing down, preparing for the long transition back into the shadows of the night. As they sit, an elder begins to trace patterns in the light dusting of snow at his feet, his finger moving with a slow and deliberate grace. He is not drawing for the sake of art, but for the sake of memory, recreating the journey they have taken and the landmarks they have passed. He speaks in a low, melodic murmur, his voice blending with the whisper of the wind. He tells of the time when the ice was even higher, when the mountains were buried beneath a sea of white, and the mammoths moved in herds so large they darkened the horizon. His stories are not just tales, they are a living history, a way of anchoring the tribe in the vast ocean of time. The younger members listen with a quiet intensity, their imaginations filling with the images of the past. They see the world through the eyes of their ancestors, understanding that they are part of a lineage of survivors who have navigated the cold for countless generations. The stories provide a sense of continuity and purpose, a reminder that the challenges of the present are but a chapter in a much larger narrative of resilience and beauty. The sun begins to touch the peaks of the distant mountains, turning them into beacons of fire and rose. The air temperature drops instantly, a reminder of the power of the cold that always waits at the edge of the light. The tribe rises, their movements synchronized and efficient as they pack their gathered wood and prepare for the final leg of the day's journey. They will not return to the cave tonight, but instead will seek shelter in a nearby grove of ancient, gnarled pines that offer a natural canopy against the falling frost. The walk to the grove is a journey through a landscape of shifting colors. As the gold of the sun fades into the indigo and violet of twilight, the snow beneath their feet turns a deep, bruised blue, and the stars begin to emerge, one by one. In the darkening vault above, the grove of pines is a sanctuary of scent and shadow, the air thick with the aroma of resin and needles. They find a spot in the center of the trees, where the ground is carpeted with a thick layer of dry needles that provides a natural cushion against the permafrost. The evening camp is established with the same quiet grace that has defined their entire day. The fire is lit, its first sparks rising like tiny stars into the dark branches of the pines. The light of the flames creates a small, flickering world of warmth and safety, a golden bubble in the heart of the frozen forest. They gather around the hearth, their faces illuminated by the amber glow, their eyes reflecting the dancing light. The crackle of the wood and the sigh of the wind in the needles above create a soothing lullaby, a soundscape that encourages the mind to let go of the day's efforts and surrender to the coming rest. The morning light does not break today. Instead, it seeps into the world like a slow, gray ink, soaking into the heavy layers of the atmosphere until the distinction between the earth and the sky becomes a soft, blurred memory. The tribe, nestled within the deep, protective shadows of the ancient pine grove, feels a subtle change in the pressure of the air, a thickening of the silence that precedes a great transformation. The wind has ceased its wandering, leaving the forest in a state of breathless anticipation, where even the smallest needlefall seems to echo against the stillness of the permafrost. They move with a quiet, practiced urgency. Their eyes turn toward the north, where the horizon has vanished behind a wall of opaque, leaden mist. They know this sign. It is the breath of the great white bear, the arrival of a storm that will reshape the world in its image. There is no panic in their movements, only a deep, ancestral understanding of the rhythms of the ice. They begin to move deeper into the heart of the forest, seeking the sanctuary of the old ones, the massive, gnarled trees that have stood for centuries. Their trunks so thick that even the fiercest gale cannot make them tremble. As they walk, the air begins to grow heavy with the first few flakes of snow, the light, dancing feathers of the previous days, but large, wet, and silent stars that settle on their furs with a weight that can be felt. The forest floor is a tapestry of deep greens and browns, protected from the worst of the drifts by the dense canopy above. Here, the scent of damp earth and decaying needles is strong, a grounded, comforting aroma that speaks of life persisting beneath the frozen surface. They find their sanctuary at the base of a fallen titan, a massive spruce that was uprooted by a storm long before any of them were born. Its tangled root system forms a natural wall of earth and stone, and its thick trunk creates a sheltered hollow that smells of old wood and resin. This will be their winter nest, a temporary home where they will wait out the whiteout. They work with a focused, rhythmic grace, using their hands and bone scrapers to clear a space within the hollow, lining the cold ground with layers of dry moss and cedar boughs. The sound of the work is a gentle, domestic music, the rustle of the branches, the soft thud of the clearing, and the melodic, low-voiced instructions passed from one to another. There is a profound sense of intimacy in this labor, a feeling of building a world within a world, a small island of order in the face of the approaching chaos. As the shelter takes shape, the world outside the forest begins to disappear. The storm arrives not with a roar, but with a total, all-encompassing whiteness. The wind picks up, high above in the canopy, making the tops of the trees moan and sway. But down on the forest floor, the air remains strangely still, protected by the density of the wood. The snow begins to fall in earnest now, a relentless, vertical descent that covers the tracks they made only moments ago. It is as if the earth is being erased, one layer at a time, until only the immediate, the tangible, and the warm remain. The tribe retreats into their nest, pulling thick mammoth hides across the opening, securing them with heavy stones and lengths of sinew. Inside, the darkness is absolute for a moment, until the first spark of the fire is struck. The light of the hearth is different. Here it is smaller, more concentrated, reflecting off the rough bark of the spruce trunk and the silver frost on their furs. The smoke rises, seeking the small gaps in the roof of their shelter. It sent a sweet, grounding presence that anchors them to the earth. The storm rages above them, a distant, muffled sound, like the breaking of waves on a far-off shore. They listen to the wind as it howls through the upper branches, a sound that would be terrifying on the open steppe, but here, in the heart of the forest, is a lullaby of power and protection. They are safe in the belly of the wood, held in the roots of the ancient ones. They sit close together, the warmth of their bodies mingling with the heat of the fire, creating a microclimate of comfort and security. The children are tucked into the center of the group, their small faces glowing in the firelight, their eyes wide as they watch the play of shadows on the ceiling. There is no talk of the storm, only stories of the forest, of the great elk that hides in the thickets, and of the spirits of the trees that watch over the wanderers. The words are spoken slowly, with long pauses for the listeners to absorb the meaning, the rhythm of the storytelling matching the steady, pulsing heat of the embers. They share a meal of dried meat and fat, the taste of the sun-dried summer grass still lingering in the fibers of the food. Every bite is a reminder of the cycle of the seasons, a connection to the light that will eventually return. They drink water melted from the snow, its cold purity a sharp contrast to the warmth of the fire. As they eat, the sense of time begins to dissolve. In the darkness of the shelter, there is no morning, no afternoon, only the eternal present of the storm. They drift in and out of a light, restorative sleep, their dreams influenced by the sounds of the wind and the scent of the pine. They dream of the forest in spring, when the snow begins to recede and the first green shoots push through the mud. But these dreams are not a longing for the future. They are a celebration of the endurance required to reach it. The ice is not a barrier to life. It is a teacher, a force that demands patience, cooperation, and a deep, abiding respect for the natural world. The fire burns low, casting a soft amber radiance over the sleeping group. Outside, the world has become a monochromatic void, a place where the air and the ground are indistinguishable from one another. The snow has piled high against the sides of their shelter, providing an extra layer of insulation that traps the heat within. The silence inside the nest is profound, broken only by the occasional pop of a resinous knot in the firewood and the rhythmic, peaceful breathing of the tribe. This is the heart of the Ice Age, not a time of constant struggle, but a time of profound rest and integration. In the stillness of the storm, they are being forged into something stronger. Their bonds with one another and with the earth tightened by the necessity of survival. They are a part of the forest now, as much as the roots and the stones, a living pulse in the middle of the frozen silence. As the hours pass, the intensity of the storm above begins to shift. The wind no longer howls. It sighs, a long, drawn-out sound that signals the passing of the front. The snowfall slows, the flakes becoming smaller and more infrequent, until at last, a deep, heavy quiet settles over the forest. The tribe does not rush to emerge. They stay in their nest, savoring the warmth and the safety they have created. They know that the world outside has been transformed, and they allow themselves the time to prepare for the new landscape. They move with a slow, languid grace, stretching their limbs and adjusting their furs, their eyes soft with the remnants of sleep. When they finally push back the hides at the entrance, the sight that greets them is one of unimaginable beauty. The forest has been draped in a thick, pristine layer of white, every branch and needle encased in a delicate, sparkling crust of frost. The light is different now, a high, brilliant silver that seems to vibrate with its own internal energy. The air is incredibly crisp and clean, smelling of nothing but the pure essence of ice and stone. They step out into the new world, their feet sinking deep into the fresh powder, their movements creating the first marks on a perfect, unblemished canvas. The trees are heavy with the weight of the snow, their branches bowing low, as if in a gesture of humility and grace. The tribe walks in a single line, following the path of the fallen Titan, their eyes scanning the transformed landscape for the familiar landmarks that will guide them on the next leg of their journey. There is a sense of renewal in the air, a feeling that the storm has washed the world clean, leaving only the essential and the true. The silence is no longer heavy, it is light and airy, a space filled with the possibility of the day. In the distance, they see the tracks of a snowshoe hare, a series of delicate three-pointed stars that lead toward a thicket of willow. The sight brings a smile to the faces of the hunters, a reminder that life has already resumed its rhythm, that the storm was merely a pause in the long, beautiful song of the ice. They move with a quiet confidence, their spirits lifted by the beauty of the morning and the strength of their own survival. They are the children of the winter, and they walk through the frozen world with a sense of belonging that is as deep as the roots of the old ones. The sun begins to peek through the clouds, its light catching the ice crystals in the air and turning the forest into a shimmering, crystalline cathedral. Every breath is a prayer of thanks, every step a testament to the enduring power of life. The glaciers in the far north continue their slow, majestic movement, their presence a constant and reassuring pressure on the edge of the world. But here, in the heart of the deep forest, the focus is on the small and the intimate, the way the light hits a frost-covered branch, the sound of the wind in the needles, and the steady, reassuring presence of the tribe. As the day unfolds, they will continue their journey, moving toward the edge of the wood and the open plains beyond. But the memory of the storm and the safety of the nest will stay with them, a warm ember in the heart of their collective memory. The journey leads the small band of travelers away from the dense sanctuary of the ancient pines, moving them slowly toward a narrow winding canyon where the earth seems to have been split open by the very hands of time. As they navigate the rocky floor of this mountain pass, the air begins to change in a way that feels almost impossible in this frozen realm. This sharp, dry bite of the tundra air is replaced by a faint, elusive humidity, a softness that brushes against the skin like a memory of summer. The hunters lead the way, their nostrils flaring as they catch a scent that is both earthy and primordial, a deep, mineral aroma that rises from the belly of the world. They are descending into a hidden valley, a secret fold in the landscape where the glaciers have been kept at bay by a hidden power. As they turn a sharp corner where the limestone walls rise high and gray toward the pale sky, they see a tail ribbon of white mist rising from the valley floor, curling and twisting like the ghosts of ancient dancers. The mist is thick and heavy, clinging to the dark, volcanic rocks, and creating a world of blurred edges and soft, shifting light. It is a place where the ice has no dominion, a rare and sacred oasis of warmth in the heart of the eternal winter. The valley is a masterpiece of contrast, a sanctuary of color in a world of monochrome, where the rest of the landscape is a study in white and blue. Here there are deep, vibrant emeralds, rich ochres, and the dark, glistening black of wet stone. The heat of the earth rises through the cracks in the crust, warming the ground until the snow melts away, revealing patches of resilient green moss and hardy, thick-leaved plants that have found a way to thrive in this humid pocket of the world. The tribe moves toward the center of the valley, their movements slowing as they absorb the sheer wonder of the warmth. They reach the edge of a series of terraced pools, each one filled with water so clear it looks like liquid glass, yet colored by the minerals of the deep earth into shades of turquoise and jade. The water is still, save for the occasional, rhythmic bubble that rises from the depths. A slow and steady pulse that confirms the valley is alive. The steam rises in great, swirling plumes, coating the surrounding rocks in a delicate, crystalline crust of ice where the warm vapor meets the freezing air of the heights. These ice flowers are intricate and fragile, glittering like jewels in the soft, diffused light of the afternoon, a testament to the meeting of fire and frost. One by one, the people begin to set down their burdens, their hands moving with a languid grace as they peel back the heavy layers of their outer furs. The sensation of the warm, moist air on their skin is a profound relief, a luxury that few in this era will ever know. They move toward the edge of the pools, their feet finding the smooth, heat-retained stones that line the water. As they dip their hands and feet into the pools, a collective sigh of contentment ripples through the group. The warmth is not sudden or sharp. It is a slow, seeping heat that enters the bones, unclenching muscles that have been tight with the cold for months. You can see the tension leaving their shoulders, the way their faces soften and their eyes close in a state of deep, meditative relaxation. The water is like a soft embrace, a liquid fire that washes away the fatigue of the long march and the bitterness of the wind. They sit in the shallows, the steam rising around them until they are nothing but silhouettes in a world of white vapor, their forms merging with the landscape until they are part of the valley itself. The soundscape of the valley is a gentle, rhythmic lullaby, the low, guttural gurgle of the springs, the soft drip of water from the ice-coated ledges, and the distant, muffled sigh of the wind passing far above the canyon walls all combine to create a sense of absolute tranquility. There is no need for words here. The warmth speaks for them, a silent communication of comfort and survival. They watch the way the light catches the steam, creating miniature rainbows that flicker and fade in the shifting mists. The world outside the valley, the endless snow, the grinding glaciers, the howling storms feels like a distant dream, a shadow that cannot touch the radiant peace of this hidden place. Even the animals of the ice know the secret of this valley. High on a ledge, a group of mountain goats watches the humans with calm, unblinking eyes, their thick, white coats blending into the frosted rocks. They, too, have come for the warmth, seeking the salt and the minerals that the springs provide. There is a truce in this place, a shared recognition of the sacredness of the oasis. The great predators stay on the ridges, their silhouettes etched against the sky, while the smaller creatures move freely among the steaming vents, all drawn by the irresistible pull of the earth's inner heat. As the sun begins its slow descent, the valley is bathed in a deep, amber light that turns the steam into clouds of gold. The tribe prepares to spend the night here, selecting a flat stretch of warm earth near the largest pool. They do not need a large fire tonight. The earth itself provides the hearth. They lay out their furs, not to keep out the cold, but to provide a soft place to rest their rejuvenated bodies. They share a meal of dried meat, but today they also gather the succulent, water-rich stems of the plants that grow near the springs, a rare and fresh treat that tastes of the minerals and the deep, dark soil. The act of eating is slow and deliberate, a celebration of the bounty that the hidden valley has provided. They feel a deep sense of gratitude to the spirits of the earth, those unseen forces that have kept the fire burning beneath the ice. They see the steam as the breath of these spirits, a constant reminder of the life that persists even in the harshest of times. The elders speak in low, melodic murmurs, their voices carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. They tell stories of the great fire at the center of the world, and of the time when the ice first began to march across the land, and how the earth created these secret sanctuaries to protect the children of the light. The night falls, but it is not the dark, freezing night of the open tundra. In the Valley of the Springs, the night is a soft, indigo velvet, illuminated by the ghostly glow of the steam and the brilliant clarity of the stars. The Milky Way stretches across the narrow strip of sky between the canyon walls, a river of light that seems to mirror the flow of the water below. The air remains mild, the warmth of the ground creating a protective bubble that keeps the frost at bay. The tribe settles down for sleep, their bodies relaxed and their minds at peace. They are nestled into the warm earth, the rhythmic sound of the water acting as a heartbeat that guides them into a deep, restorative rest. In their dreams, they are floating on clouds of steam, rising high above the glaciers, looking down on a world where the ice is but a temporary visitor on the face of an eternal, living planet. They see the hidden fires of the earth as a network of golden veins, connecting all the secret oases together, a hidden map of life that the ice can never erase. The hours of the darkness pass with a slow and steady grace. Every now and then, a person might stir, reaching out to touch the warm stone or the soft fur of a companion. A simple gesture of connection in the vastness of the prehistoric night. The steam continues its endless dance, rising into the cold air where it turns into a fine, glittering dust of ice that falls back to the earth like diamonds. This cycle of rising and falling, of heating and cooling, is the rhythm of the valley, a perfect balance of elements. There is no urgency to the morning. Here, time is measured by the slow accumulation of minerals and the gradual shifting of the steam. The humans are at rest, their spirits replenished by the gift of the warmth. They are learning the lesson of the oasis that, even in the midst of a world of ice, there is always a source of heat, a place of refuge, if one only knows where to look. The earth is not an enemy. It is a provider, a mother who holds her children close and keeps them safe from the bite of the winter. As the first light of dawn begins to touch the highest peaks of the canyon, A pale violet glow filters down through the mist, turning the valley into a realm of dreams. The water in the pools begins to steam more vigorously as the air temperature drops with the coming of the morning, creating a thick, white fog that hides the world. The tribe awakens slowly, their movements fluid and easy. They do not feel the usual stiffness in their joints or the sharp ache of the cold. Instead, they feel light and strong, their senses sharpened by the rest and the humidity. They gather by the water-altered pools for a final soak, watching the way the rising sun turns the mist into a sea of pearlescent light. The beauty of the moment is overwhelming, a quiet, shimmering ecstasy that fills their hearts with a sense of wonder. They know that they must eventually leave this place, that the journey across the ice must continue, but they will carry the warmth of the valley within them. It has become a part of their memory, a warm ember that they can fan into life whenever the wind becomes too cold or the night too long. They begin to pack their belongings with the same quiet grace they have shown throughout their stay. They are careful not to disturb the delicate balance of the valley, leaving the moss and the stones as they found them. They move toward the exit of the canyon, their feet finding the path that leads back to the high, frozen world. As they ascend, the air begins to sharpen once more, the humidity fading and the dry, cold bite of the tundra returning to claim them. But they are different now. The path leads upward now, a slow and steady climb away from the lingering warmth of the hidden valley and toward the high, wind-scoured plateau that sits like a crown upon the world. As the tribe ascends, the air thins and sharpens, turning into a cold, crystalline essence that seems to vibrate with the sheer scale of the landscape. They move with a rhythmic, measured pace, their lungs expanding with the crisp oxygen, their bodies lean and efficient from the weeks of travel. The ground beneath them is a mosaic of shattered slate and frozen lichen, a rugged terrain that demands focus and respect. There is a sense of leaving the intimate, sheltered world of the canyons and entering the realm of the sky. As they reach the final ridge and the plateau stretches out before them, the horizon suddenly expands to an impossible distance, a vast and level sea of white and gray that feels like the very edge of the universe. The wind here is a constant, melodic hum, a steady stream of air that has traveled across thousands of miles of ice without obstacle, carrying with it the sense of distant oceans and ancient, frozen forests. It is a lonely place, yet it feels profoundly alive, a stage set for a drama of epic proportions. Before they even see the movement on the horizon, they feel it, a low, deep frequency vibration that travels through the soles of their feet and resonates in the very center of their chests. It is a sound that is felt more than heard, a rhythmic thrumming that matches the heartbeat of the earth itself. The hunters pause, their eyes narrowing as they scan the shimmering distance where the heat of the earth meets the cold of the sky. Slowly, the silhouettes begin to emerge from the haze, vast, undulating shapes that move with a deliberate and unstoppable grace. It is the great migration of the woolly mammoths, a river of life flowing across the high plateau. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, move in a long, wide column that stretches as far as the eye can see. They are the titans of the Ice Age, the masters of the tundra, and their presence transforms the landscape from a barren wasteland into a sanctuary of ancient power. The tribe stands in absolute stillness, humbled by the sheer scale of the herd, their breaths catching in their throats as they witness the slow, majestic passage of these mountain-like creatures. As the herd draws closer, the individual details of the mammoths begin to reveal themselves in the soft, afternoon light. You can see the long, shaggy coats of reddish-brown hair swaying with every rhythmic step, a protective mantle that has evolved over millions of years to defy the reach of the frost. Their tusks are magnificent arcs of ivory, curving upward and inward like the ribs of a forgotten cathedral, some stained with the earth of a dozen different valleys. The matriarch leads the way, a massive, weathered female whose presence radiates a quiet, formidable wisdom. She moves with a slow, swaying gait, her trunk occasionally rising to test the air, a gesture of constant vigilance and care for the calves that trot at her heels. The sound of their movement is a symphony of the ice, the heavy, muffled thuds of their padded feet on the frozen ground, the dry rustle of their thick hair against the wind, and the occasional, deep-toned rumble of communication that passes between the members of the herd. It is a sound of continuity, of a journey that began long before the first humans walked these lands and will continue long after they have gone. The tribe settles into the lee of a large, weathered boulder, watching the mammoths pass with a sense of quiet reverence. There is no desire to hunt today. The sheer majesty of the migration inspires a different kind of connection, a feeling of being a witness to the profound cycles of the natural world. They see the young calves, playful even in the midst of the long march, bumping against the sturdy legs of their mothers and testing their small trunks on the frozen shrubs. They see the great bulls that guard the flanks of the herd, their massive shoulders rippled with muscle, their eyes calm and observant. The scent of the mammoths fills the air, a rich, musky aroma of dry grass, ancient earth, and the warm, living breath of the giants. It is a comforting smell, a sign of abundance and the enduring strength of life. In this moment, the humans and the mammoths are part of the same story, two species of wanderers sharing the same high, cold stage, both bound by the same laws of endurance and the same need for the hearth of the herd. The sun begins its slow descent toward the edge of the plateau, turning the sky into a palette of deep, violet, bruised orange, and soft, dusty rose. The light catches the tips of the mammoth's hair, creating a halo of gold around each massive body, as if they are beings made of light and shadow. The shadows they cast stretch long across the snow, giant fingers that reach out to touch the feet of the humans. The world feels immense and silent, save for the rhythmic pulse of the migration. Time seems to slow down, the minutes stretching into hours, as the column of mammoths continues its relentless march. The tribe sits in silence, their faces reflecting the fading warmth of the sun, their minds drifting with the movement of the herd. There is a profound peace in this observation, a sense of letting go of the small worries of the day and surrendering to the grand, slow rhythm of the ice. They feel the weight of their own history, the long line of ancestors who have stood on this same plateau and watched these same giants pass by, a chain of memory that links them to the very beginning of the world. As the twilight deepens, the air on the plateau becomes even colder, the moisture in the breath freezing into fine, glittering diamonds that hang in the air. The stars begin to emerge, one by one. In the darkening vault of the sky, the great hunter, the seven sisters, and the bright, steady eye of the North Star. The mammoths continue their journey under the light of the rising moon, their forms becoming ghostly and ethereal in the silver radiance. The sound of their footsteps begins to fade as the tail of the herd moves further across the plateau, leaving behind a silence that is even more profound than before. The ground still carries the faint warmth of their passage, and the tracks they have left in the snow are like giant, circular poems written on the face of the earth. The tribe prepares their own camp for the night, finding a shallow depression in the ground that offers some protection from the wind. They do not light a large fire, for the plateau is a place of shadows and light, and they wish to remain part of the night. They wrap themselves in their thickest furs, the smell of the mammoth still lingering in their senses. They lay close together, the warmth of their bodies a small, precious fire in the vastness of the dark. As they settle down for sleep, they think of the mammoths, still moving across the white expanse, their great hearts beating in the silence, their trunks searching the wind for the scent of the distant valleys. They feel a sense of security in the knowledge that these giants are out there, a living wall of strength that protects the world from the total grip of the ice. In their dreams, they are running with the herd, their feet light on the frozen ground, their voices joining the deep, resonant rumbles of the mammoths. They dream of the high places of the world, where the stars are close enough to touch, and the ice is a mirror for the glory of the heavens. These dreams are a form of flight, a way for the human spirit to expand and fill the immense spaces of the prehistoric world. The night on the plateau is a time of deep, restorative stillness. The wind has settled into a soft whisper, a gentle breath that brushes over the sleeping forms of the tribe. The moon climbs higher, casting its cool, white light over the tracks of the migration, turning the plateau into a landscape of silver and ink. The glaciers in the distance are silent, their slow movement, a secret kept by the earth. Everything is in its place. The mammoths are moving, the humans are sleeping, and the stars are watching. There is no hurry, no urgency, only the steady and unchanging flow of the Ice Age. As the hours pass, the silence of the plateau becomes a sacred thing, a space where the soul can rest and the body can recover from the journey. The echoes of the mammoth's passage are still there, a lingering vibration in the ground that acts as a lullaby for the wanderers. As the first hint of the pre-dawn light begins to touch the horizon, a pale ethereal blue that signals the coming of another day, the tribe remains in the deep embrace of sleep. They have witnessed the majesty of the giants, and they have been changed by it. They carry the strength of the mammoths in their bones, and the wisdom of the migration in their hearts. They know that when they rise, the journey will continue, but they will walk with a new sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of their place in the world. The plateau will remain a high and silent witness to the passing of the ages, and the mammoths will continue their march across the ice, a living testament to the power of life to endure and thrive in the face of the eternal winter. But for now, there is only the rest, the deep, quiet, and profound sleep of the Ice Age, where the only sound is the rhythmic breath of the world and the soft, distant echo of a heartbeat in the snow. The tribe is safe. The herd is far. The stars are fading into the light of the morning, and as the second part of the night gives way to the first light of the new day, the story of the ice continues to unfold, a slow and the descent from the high, wind-scoured plateau is a slow and rhythmic transition, a gradual letting go of the vast, exposed horizon in favor of the intimate, sloping contours of a hidden valley. As the tribe begins to move downward, the air loses its razor-sharp edge, thickening and warming as they leave the thin, crystalline atmosphere of the heights behind. The world, which had been a study in infinite, white and bruised indigo, begins to reveal subtle shades of charcoal, deep slate, and eventually, the ghost of a color that feels like a forgotten dream, a dark, brooding green. They move with a measured gravity, their knees bending to the incline, their bodies leaning into the slope as they navigate the rocky scree and the deep, drifted basins of snow. There is a sense of returning to the embrace of the earth, of being tucked back into the folds of the landscape where the wind cannot find them. As they descend, the silence of the high plateau, silence of emptiness and stars, is replaced by a different kind of quiet, one that feels textured and alive, a silence that holds the weight of ancient wood and the secret breath of living things. They are following a frozen stream bed, a jagged scar in the mountainside that leads them deeper into the shadows of the lowlands, where the glaciers have carved out a sanctuary that the ice has yet to fully claim. At the base of the long slope, nestled in a bowl of granite and permafrost, lies a grove of ancient, evergreen trees, spruce and fir, that have stood as silent sentinels for centuries. To the eyes of the wanderers, this site is a revelation, a dark emerald island in an ocean of white. These trees are not the stunted, wind-warped shrubs of the high tundra. They are giants of the cold, their trunks thick and rugged, their branches heavy with the accumulated weight of the winter's snow. As the tribe enters the perimeter of the grove, the light changes instantly, shifting from the brilliant, blinding glare of the snowfields to a soft, filtered twilight that glows with a pale, greenish hue. The air here is different, rich with the intoxicating scent of resin, pine needles, and the damp, earthy musk of soil that has been protected by a canopy of needles. The transition is profound, a sensory shift that signals a move from survival to sanctuary. The sound of their footsteps changes too, from the hollow crump of frozen snow to the soft, muffled thud of a forest floor carpeted in a thick layer of needles and moss. It feels as though the grove has been waiting for them, its branches arched like the ribs of a great, living longhouse, offering a peace that is as deep as the roots of the trees themselves. They move deeper into the heart of the evergreen world, their eyes wide as they take in the details of this hidden realm. Here, the snow does not fall in a relentless blanket, but is caught by the dense needles, creating elaborate, hanging sculptures of ice and white that look like frozen lace. Every so often, a branch, unable to bear the weight any longer, releases its burden with a soft, rhythmic humph, sending a cloud of fine white powder drifting through the air like the breath of the forest. The tribe finds a clearing at the center of the grove, a space where the oldest trees stand in a protective circle. This is where they will establish their winter camp, a place to rest their spirits and replenish their strength. There is a sense of profound relief as they set down their packs, their movements fluid and easy in the windless air. They touch the rough, scaly bark of the trees with reverence, feeling the slow, hidden pulse of life that persists even in the heart of the Ice Age. These trees are the elders of the world, witnesses to 1,000 winters, and their presence provides a psychological warmth that is just as essential as the heat of a fire. The work of setting up the camp is a meditative dance, a series of familiar tasks that connect the humans to the materials of the forest. They do not need to hunt for wood here. The forest floor is a treasury of fallen branches, seasoned by the cold and rich with the oils that make them burn with a steady, golden light. They gather the dry needles to create soft, fragrant beds, the scent rising to greet them as they press the layers down. They find a large, flat stone at the base of a grandfather's spruce to serve as their hearth, clearing away the light dusting of snow to reveal the dark, frozen earth beneath. As the first fire is lit, the smoke rises in a straight, unwavering line, weaving through the branches until it disappears into the canopy above. The smell of the burning evergreen wood is sweet and sharp, a fragrance that fills the clearing and marks it as a human space. The orange light of the flames reflects off the dark green needles and the silver frost, creating a shimmering, jewel-like world that feels safe and eternal. They huddle close to the hearth, their faces illuminated by the amber glow, watching the way the shadows play against the massive trunks of the trees in the quiet hours of the afternoon. The grove reveals its small, hidden lives. A red squirrel, a flash of copper against the dark bark, chattered from a high branch, its bright eyes watching the newcomers with a mixture of curiosity and caution. A pair of crossbills, their beaks perfectly evolved to pry seeds from the cones, move through the upper reaches of the trees, their soft melodic calls echoing in the still air. These tiny creatures are a reminder that even in the depth of the great white, the flame of life is never truly extinguished. The humans watch them with a sense of quiet joy, recognizing a kinship with all things that endure. They gather the cones from the forest floor, finding the small, oily seeds that provide a welcome supplement to their diet. They strip the inner bark of certain trees, a sweet and fibrous treat that carries the essence of the forest. There is a feeling of abundance here, a sense that the grove is a gift from the earth, a reward for the long and difficult trek across the plateau. The children play quietly among the roots, their laughter muffled by the soft needles, their small hands discovering the textures of moss, stone, and wood dot as the sun begins to dip below the surrounding mountains. The light in the grove turns to a deep, bruised violet. The shadows stretch and merge, turning the spaces between the trees into a realm of mystery and depth. The tribe prepares their evening meal, a rich stew of mammoth meat and dried roots, the steam rising to mingle with the scent of the pine. They eat slowly, savoring the warmth and the stillness, their conversation reduced to low, rhythmic murmurs that blend with the sigh of the wind in the treetops far above. They speak of the trees as living beings, spirits that have chosen to stay and face the cold while others fled to the south. They feel a sense of protection under this canopy, as if the grove itself is a guardian that keeps the darkness at bay. The fire burns with a comforting hum, its light creating a golden circle of safety that feels impenetrable. Outside the grove, the world may be a frozen void, but here, there is warmth, there is food, and there is the steady, reassuring presence of one's kin. The night falls completely, and the stars appear in the narrow patches of sky visible through the branches. They look different, here smaller and more distant, framed by the dark, reaching fingers of the spruce. The northern lights begin their ethereal dance, their green and violet curtains shimmering above the canopy, reflecting faintly in the ice crystals that cling to the needles. The tribe settles down for sleep, their bodies nestled into the soft, fragrant beds of pine. They wrap themselves in their heavy furs, the weight and warmth providing a sense of grounding and security. As they close their eyes, the soundscape of the forest takes over, the soft, rhythmic creak of the trees as they sway in the upper winds, the distant, muffled hoot of an owl, and the steady, peaceful breathing of the group. The silence of the grove is not empty. It is a full, resonant quiet that encourages a deep and restorative rest. In their dreams, they are part of the forest, their roots reaching deep into the frozen earth, their branches reaching up to touch the stars. They dream of the long, slow growth of the trees, of the way the sap moves in the spring, and of the enduring strength that comes from standing together. Against the storm, the hours of the darkness pass with a slow and steady grace. Every now and then, a heavy clump of snow slides from a branch, falling to the ground with a soft, distant thud that only emphasizes the surrounding stillness. The fire burns down to a bed of glowing embers, a deep red eye that watches over the sleeping camp. The cold outside the grove is immense, a biting, relentless force that turns the air to glass. But inside the circle of trees, the temperature remains steady, buffered by the density of the wood and the warmth of the hearth. The humans sleep deeply, their minds and bodies recovering from the trials of the plateau. They are learning the lesson of the evergreen, that resilience is not about fighting the cold, but about finding a way to exist within it, to hold on to the green even when the world turns white. They are a part of the grove now, a living pulse in the heart of the ancient wood, protected by the wisdom of the trees and the strength of their own survival. The transition from the deep, resinous sanctuary of the evergreen grove to the wide, open corridor of the frozen river is a movement into a world of light and horizontal infinity. As the tribe leaves the protective canopy behind, the sky opens up once more, a vast and pale dome of translucent blue that seems to vibrate with the sheer clarity of the cold. The river, which in the height of summer would be a churning, silt-laden artery of life, is now a silent highway of polished glass and wind-swept snow. Its surface is a mosaic of textures. Here, the ice is clear and dark as obsidian, revealing the frozen bubbles and trapped reeds of the autumn. There, it is a corrugated expanse of white, where the wind has carved the snow into miniature dunes that look like the ribs of some ancient, buried beast. The humans walk along this frozen path with a sense of renewed purpose, their footsteps creating a rhythmic, hollow clack that echoes off the low, frosted bluffs that line the banks. There is a specific freedom in this movement, a release from the tangles of the forest and the steep inclines of the plateau. They are following the water's logic, moving toward the edge of the world, where the land finally yields to the immense, frozen reaches of the sea. As they progress downstream, the valley begins to widen, the hills receding into the distance until they are nothing more than ghostly silhouettes on the horizon. The air begins to change, losing the dry, needle-sharp scent of the pine and picking up a subtle, metallic edge, a hint of salt and ancient minerals that signals the proximity of the Great Delta. This is a landscape of transition, where the river branches out into 1,000 frozen veins, weaving through a labyrinth of low-lying islands and salt marshes that have been locked in a crystalline grip. The willow thickets that dot these islands are encrusted with a thick layer of rime frost, their delicate branches looking like white coral reaching up from a sea of snow. The tribe moves through this maze with a quiet, observational grace, their eyes scanning the wide expanses for the movement of life. They see the tracks of Arctic foxes, delicate and precise, zigzagging between the islands in search of lemmings. They notice the snowy owls perched like statues on the hummocks of frozen peat, their white plumage making them nearly invisible against the sky. The silence here is different from the forest. It is a vast, airy quiet that feels as though it is being breathed out by the earth itself, a slow and rhythmic exhalation that carries the scent of the distant ice shelves. The delta eventually gives way to the coastline, and the tribe pauses as they reach the final boundary of the land. Before them lies the frozen sea, an expanse of ice, so immense it defies the human capacity to measure it. It is not a flat surface, but a chaotic and beautiful world of pressure ridges, tilted flows, and frozen waves that have been caught in the act of breaking. The light of the low sun catches the edges of these ice formations, turning the sea into a landscape of sapphire, emerald, and dazzling white. The colors are deep and saturated, reflecting the purity of the water and the intensity of the cold. The tribe stands on the edge of the shore, their breaths forming long white plumes that drift toward the horizon. They feel a sense of profound awe, a recognition that they are standing at the threshold of a realm that belongs entirely to the ice. The ocean, which in warmer eras would be a restless, moving power, is now a silent and stationary monument to the strength of the Great White. Yet, even in this stillness, the sea is not dead. They can hear the deep, resonant groans and sharp cracks of the pack ice as it shifts under the influence of the tides, a sound like distant thunder that vibrates through the frozen ground and into their very bones. They begin to move along the shoreline, looking for a place to establish their camp. They find a sheltered cove where the land rises in a series of rocky terraces, providing a vantage point over the frozen expanse. The ground here is a mix of frozen sand and salt-crusted pebbles, a texture that feels strange and new after the soft needles of the forest. They work with their usual quiet efficiency, clearing a space for their shelter against the base of a dark, basalt cliff. The rock is cold to the touch, but it provides a solid anchor against the wind that has begun to rise from the sea. They gather the driftwood that has been cast up by the storms of the previous autumn, salt-bleached logs and twisted roots that have been seasoned by the brine and the sun. This wood burns with a unique flame, flickering in shades of blue and lavender, the salt in the grain creating a tiny, domestic aurora within the hearth. As the fire takes hold, the scent of the sea smoke fills the cove, a sharp and bracing aroma that speaks of distant journeys and the deep, cold mysteries of the water. In the fading light of the afternoon, they watch the movements of the coastal hunters. Far out on the ice, they see the small, dark shapes of seals resting near their breathing holes, perfect circular openings they keep clear with their teeth. The seals are ghosts of the ice, moving with a fluid grace that seems impossible in such a harsh environment. Occasionally, a polar bear can be seen on the horizon, a massive, cream-colored phantom moving with a slow, swaying gait across the pressure ridges. The bear is the undisputed master of this realm, a creature of such immense power and patience that the tribe watches it with a mixture of fear and profound respect. They see the bear pause, its black nose testing the wind, before it vanishes into the shadows of the ice. The humans understand their place here. They are guests on the edge of a world that does not belong to them, watchers of a cycle that moves to the rhythm of the tides and the long, slow deepening of the winter. The sun dips below the horizon, but the light lingers for a long time, a deep and bruised purple that reflects off the sea ice and turns the sky into a shimmering vault of indigo. The stars begin to appear, reflecting in the leads of open water that occasionally open between the flows. These leads are dark ribbons of liquid sapphire, steaming in the freezing air, creating a world of shadow and mist. The tribe huddles around their driftwood fire. The warmth of the flames, a precious sanctuary against the rising chill of the coast. They share a meal of dried fish and fat, the rich oils providing the fuel their bodies need to withstand the biting wind. The conversation is sparse, a series of low, melodic murmurs that are lost in the sigh of the breeze. They talk of the great water that has turned to stone, and of the spirits that live beneath the ice, those ancient beings that command the tides and the storms. They feel a sense of connection to these spirits, a realization that the same force that freezes the sea also moves the blood through their veins. As the night deepens, the soundscape of the coast becomes more pronounced. The moaning of the ice ridges, the hiss of the blowing snow against the rocks, and the rhythmic thrum of the moving water below the surface, all combine to create a haunting, beautiful music. It is the song of the frozen sea, a melody that has no beginning and no end. A sound that speaks of the immense scale of the prehistoric world. The tribe settles down for sleep, their bodies wrapped in thick furs, their heads resting on the salt-crusted packs. They sleep in a close-knit circle, the warmth of the fire at their feet, the steady, rhythmic breathing of the group providing a sense of security and peace. In their dreams, they are swimming through the dark, cold waters beneath the ice, moving with the seals and the whales, seeing the world from the perspective of the deep. They dream of the great ice shelves that stretch to the north, and of the stars that are reflected in the eyes of the sea beasts. These dreams are a form of integration, a way of making the vast and alien landscape of the coast a part of their own internal map. The hours of the darkness pass with a slow and majestic grace. The moon rises over the frozen sea, a brilliant, silver orb that turns the ice into a field of diamonds. The light is so bright that the shadows of the pressure ridges look like ink on the snow, and the distant icebergs look like mountains of solid light. The air is incredibly clear, allowing the stars to shine with a fierce, unwavering intensity. The cold on the coast is a physical weight, a pressure that seems to slow the passage of time. Yet inside the circle of the tribe, there is a profound sense of warmth and rest. They are safe in their cove, protected by the rock and the fire, their spirits at peace in the heart of the winter. They have traveled from the high plateau to the deep forest, and now to the edge of the world, and each landscape has taught them something new about the nature of endurance and the beauty of the ice. As the first pale hint of the morning light begins to touch the horizon, a soft and ethereal gray that signals the return of the sun, the tribe remains in the deep embrace of sleep. There is no hurry to rise, no urgency to leave the cove. They will spend another day here, watching the sea and listening to the voices of the ice. They will gather more driftwood, repair their gear, and share the stories that bind them together as a people of the earth and the water. The coast is a place of reflection, a boundary where the land and the sea meet in a state of frozen grace. The glaciers in the north continue their slow, grinding march, and the sea ice continues its rhythmic expansion. But here, in the small circle of the firelight, there is only peace. The echoes of the Ice Age are a vast and melodic symphony, and the tribe is a vital part of the music, a living pulse in the middle of the silver silence. The transition from the solid, unyielding basalt of the shoreline to the vast, shifting architecture of the sea ice is a step into a world that breathes with the rhythm of the tides. As the tribe leaves the safety of the rocky cove, they step onto a platform of frozen salt water that feels different beneath their feet, less like stone and more like a living, groaning skin stretched over the dark secrets of the deep. The ice here is a chaotic masterpiece of pressure and time, a landscape of jagged hummocks and smooth, wind-polished pans that stretch toward a horizon where the sky and the frozen ocean merge into a single, pearlescent veil. They move with an increased awareness, their eyes constantly reading the subtle signs of the ice's integrity, noting the color and the way the light filters through the crystalline structures. Clear, dark ice speaks of recent freezes and great depth, while the opaque, snow-crusted ridges tell of old battles between the wind and the waves. The air is sharper here, carry a weight of salt and the ancient, cold breath of the north, a scent that seems to sharpen the senses and clarify the mind. They walk in a rhythmic, deliberate line, their weight distributed with the grace of those who have known the ice for generations. Their movements a slow and steady dance upon the surface of a hidden world. As they venture further from the land, the soundscape of the sea ice begins to dominate their senses. It is a deep, resonant symphony of groans, sharp cracks, and low-frequency thrums that vibrate through the soles of their boots and into the marrow of their bones. These are the voices of the pack ice, the sounds of massive floes grinding against one another as the invisible currents of the ocean pull and push from below. To the tribe, these sounds are not a source of fear, but a constant, informative dialogue. They listen to the ice as one might listen to the wind in the trees, understanding the language of stress and release. Occasionally, a sound like a distant drumbeat echoes through the frozen expanse, the sound of a great berg calving or a lead of open water snapping shut. This is the shifting world, a place where the geography is temporary and the only constant is the slow, majestic movement of the frozen sea. They find a large, stable floe that has been grounded on a hidden shoal, a massive island of ice that provides a sense of security in the midst of the movement. Here, they pause, their eyes scanning the landscape for the small, dark circles that mark the breathing holes of the seals. The hunt in this realm is an exercise in profound patience and absolute stillness. A hunter finds a promising hole, a perfect circle of water kept open by the constant attention of a seal from below. He does not approach with haste. Instead, he moves with a slow, creeping grace, eventually settling into a crouch a few paces away. He places a small, downy feather from a ptarmigan over the hole, a delicate sensor that will signal the slightest movement of air as the seal rises to breathe. The world around him begins to fade, leaving only the rhythm of his own heartbeat and the sight of that white feather against the dark ice. This is a meditative state, a merging of the human spirit with the environment. He becomes a statue of fur and bone, his breath slow and shallow to avoid creating a cloud of mist that might alert the animal below. The minutes stretch into hours, but there is no sense of boredom, only a deep, quiet focus. Around him, the other members of the tribe are equally still, some watching the horizon for the white silhouette of a bear, others simply sitting in the lee of an ice ridge, their minds drifting with the slow movement of the clouds. In the Ice Age, waiting is a form of survival, a sacred time of observation and rest. In the distance, beyond the immediate silence of the hunt, a great geyser of mist erupts from a lead of open water, a dark, jagged ribbon of liquid sapphire that has opened between the flows. It is the breath of a bowhead whale, a titan of the deep, that has found a temporary skylight in the frozen ceiling of its world. The tribe watches the mist rise and dissipate, followed by the slow, majestic roll of a dark, barnacle-crusted back that breaks the surface like a smooth island of stone. The whale is a creature of deep time, a guardian of the ocean that carries the memories of 1,000 winters in its massive frame. The sound of its breath is a hollow, resonant whoosh that carries across the ice, a sound of life continuing in the heart of the cold. They feel a sense of profound connection to this giant, a realization that they are both wanderers in a landscape of ice and water, both part of a cycle that is far greater than themselves. The whale vanishes back into the depths with a slow, graceful flick of its tail, leaving behind only the ripples on the dark water and the lingering sense of its immense presence. As the afternoon sun hangs low, a golden white orb that offers light but no warmth, the tribe gathers on their grounded floe. They have brought with them a flat, heavy slab of schist, a stone from the shore that they place carefully on the ice to act as a foundation for a small fire. They use the salt-bleached driftwood they gathered earlier, the blue and violet flames dancing in the center of the white expanse. The fire seems smaller here, a tiny, defiant spark in the middle of the immense, frozen ocean, yet its warmth is profound. They use a bowl carved from a mammoth's vertebra to melt the sea ice, the steam rising to mingle with the salt air. The water is slightly brackish, a taste of the sea that they drink with a sense of gratitude. They share a small amount of seal fat, the rich, oily substance providing the energy their bodies need to generate heat from within. There is a deep, quiet contentment in this gathering, a feeling of being at home in a place that should be alien. They talk in low, melodic whispers, their voices barely rising above the hiss of the wind. They speak of the spirits of the water, the ones who pull the tides and guide the whales, and they offer a small piece of fat to the fire as a gesture of respect. The light begins to shift, turning from the brilliant white of the day to the deep, saturated blues and violets of the coastal twilight. The ice hummocks cast long, jagged shadows that look like ink on the snow, creating a landscape of high contrast and ethereal beauty. The tribe prepares to spend the night on the ice. Nestled in the lee of a massive pressure ridge that offers protection from the breeze that has begun to blow from the north, they arrange their heavy furs in a communal nest, the layers of mammoth and reindeer hide providing a barrier against the cold of the floe. As they settle down, the sky above begins to ignite with the first flicker of the aurora. It starts as a pale, ghostly green on the northern horizon, a shimmering curtain of light that slowly grows and spreads until it covers the entire vault of the heavens. The light reflects off the ice and the open leads, turning the world into a realm of shifting emerald, violet, and rose. It is a silent, celestial dance that makes the stars seem distant and small, a display of power and beauty that leaves the humans in a state of quiet awe. They watch the lights with half-closed eyes, their minds drifting into the dream world as the colors pulse and fold above them. The night on the sea ice is a time of profound textured silence. It is not the silence of the forest or the plateau, but a silence filled with the rhythmic thrum of the ocean below and the occasional distant boom of the shifting pack. The tribe sleeps deeply, their bodies pressed together for warmth, their breathing synchronized with the slow pulse of the tides. In their dreams, they are floating on the ice, moving with the currents to the edge of the world where the sun never sets. They dream of the great ice shelves and the hidden valleys beneath the sea, of the animals that speak in the language of the whales and the spirits that ride the northern lights. These dreams are a form of flight, a way for the spirit to explore the vast, frozen reaches of the planet while the body rests in the safety of the group. The ice beneath them is a steady and reassuring presence, a solid foundation in the middle of the shifting waters. They are children of the ice, and they are at peace in its embrace. As the hours of the darkness pass, the wind dies down, leaving the air perfectly still and incredibly cold. The moisture in their breath freezes instantly, forming a fine, glittering frost on the edges of their furs and the tips of their hair. The world feels as though it is held in a state of perpetual suspension, a moment of absolute grace, where time has no meaning. The moon rises, a brilliant silver orb that competes with the light of the aurora, turning the pressure ridges into mountains of polished crystal. The silence is so heavy it feels like a physical weight, a blanket of cold that encourages the soul to turn inward and find its own warmth. There is no hurry for the morning. Here, in the heart of the Ice Age, the night is a sanctuary, a time for the world to rest and for the ice to grow. The glaciers in the distance continue their slow, majestic march, and the whales continue their silent journeys through the deep. But for the humans, on the floe, there is only the quiet, the warmth of the furs, and the steady, enduring presence of one another. Every so often, the ice beneath them gives a long, low moan, a sound of the earth breathing in its sleep. The tribe stirs momentarily, a hand reaching out to touch the soft fur of a companion, a foot shifting to find a warmer spot in the nest. Before they settle back into the deep reaches of sleep, they are safe. They are warm. They are part of the ice. The connection they feel to this frozen realm is not one of dominance, but of humble belonging. The journey leads us away from the shifting, rhythmic pulse of the sea ice, turning our faces back toward the ancient heart of the land, where the great canyons of ice and stone wait to receive the wanderers one last time. As the tribe moves inland, the landscape begins to transform into a cathedral of frozen giants, massive glaciers that tower over the path like frozen waterfalls. Their surface is carved into intricate, sapphire blue, fluting by the relentless hands of the wind. We are walking through a passage of deep time, a corridor where the walls are made of ice that fell as snow 10,000 years ago, holding within its crystalline depths the secrets of a world that breathes in centuries. The air here is incredibly still, trapped between the towering walls of the canyon, and it carries a silence that is so pure it feels holy. Every footstep on the hard-packed snow is a soft, rhythmic prayer, an echo that travels up the walls of the glacier and fades into the pale silver sky. There is no hurry now. The urgency of the hunt and the fear of the storm have been replaced by a profound, heavy sense of arrival. They are heading toward a valley of ancient stone pillars, a place where the earth's bones rise up from the permafrost to touch the stars, and where the tribe has always found its most enduring rest. As they enter the valley, the scale of the world shifts once more. The stone pillars are monolithic and dark, their surfaces smoothed by the passage of countless glaciers, standing like silent sentinels in a sea of white. They are arranged in a natural circle, a geological mystery that feels like a temple built by the earth itself. The tribe moves between these giants with a quiet reverence, their hands reaching out to touch the cold, solid grain of the stone. It is a grounding sensation, a reminder of the permanence that exists beneath the shifting layers of ice and snow. The light in the valley is soft and diffused, a gentle lavender glow that seems to emanate from the snow itself, softening the edges of the pillars and turning the world into a realm of dreams. Here, the air begins to carry a subtle, new quality of faint, almost imperceptible softening, a whisper of a change in the great cycle of the winter. It is not yet spring, but the earth is beginning to stir in its long sleep, a slow and deep inhalation that signals the start of the great retreat. The tribe chooses the center of the stone circle for their final camp, a space where the earth feels warm and solid beneath the snow. They do not build a large shelter tonight. Instead, they use the pillars themselves as their walls, draping their heavy mammoth hides between the stones to create a communal sanctuary open to the sky. The fire is built in the center, its flames rising straight and true toward the stars, casting long, flickering shadows that dance across the ancient stone. The smell of the fire cedar, bone, and dried peaties, the scent of survival and continuity. They sit together in a circle, their bodies pressed close, their eyes reflecting the amber light of the hearth. There is a profound sense of completion in this gathering, a realization that they have traversed the high plateaus, the deep forests, and the frozen seas, and they have come back to the center of their world. They share a meal with a slow and rhythmic grace, the taste of the meat and the warmth of the broth, a final, nourishing gift from the land. The conversation tonight is the slowest it has ever been, a series of long meditative pauses filled with the crackle of the wood and the distant, muffled groan of the glaciers. They speak of the ancestors who stood among these same pillars, and of the children who will one day watch the ice melt away. They talk of the world as a living being, a creature of ice and fire that is constantly changing, yet always the same. There is no sadness in their voices, only a deep, abiding peace, the peace of those who know their place in the universe and are content with it. The elders tell one last story, a narrative that has no beginning and no end, a story about the light that lives within the ice and the warmth that lives within the stone. Their voices are like a gentle current, carrying the listeners toward the edge of sleep, their words blending with the sigh of the wind and the rhythmic breathing of the group. As the night deepens, the sky above the pillars becomes a masterpiece of celestial fire. The stars are so bright and so close that they seem to be hanging from the vault of heaven, their light reflecting in the ice crystals that hang suspended in the still air. The northern lights appear for a final time, not as a dancing curtain, but as a steady emerald glow that bathes the entire valley in a soft, ethereal light. The tribe settles down for their rest, their bodies nestled deep into the firs, their heads resting on the ancient earth. They are at the heart of the world, protected by the stone, warmed by the fire, and watched over by the stars. The cold of the Ice Age is no longer a force to be feared. It is a blanket, a quiet and beautiful presence that encourages the soul to let go and sink into the depths of a profound and restorative sleep. We can feel the world slowing down, the pulse of the glaciers becoming a faint, rhythmic hum that acts as a lullaby. The footsteps of the tribe, which have echoed across the tundra and the sea ice, are now still, their tracks slowly being filled by a light dusting of new snow. The echoes of the Ice Age are fading, turning into a gentle whisper that carries the memory of the journey into the silence of the past. The great mammoths are sleeping in the valleys. The saber-toothed cats are resting in their caves, and the whales are drifting in the deep, dark waters beneath the ice. Everything is at rest. The long winter is breathing out, a slow and peaceful exhalation that will last for centuries. The ice is beginning its slow, majestic retreat, leaving behind the stones, the soil, and the enduring spirit of life in our minds. We watch as the fire in the center of the stone circle burns down to a bed of glowing embers, a deep red heart in the middle of the silver night. The shadows of the pillars stretch long and thin, reaching out to touch the edges of the valley, and the light of the aurora begins to fade into the soft, gray light of the pre-dawn. The humans are sleeping deeply, their breaths synchronized with the slow heartbeat of the earth. They are part of the landscape now, as much as the stone in the ice, a living pulse in the middle of the eternal winter. There is no more distance to travel, no more animals to track, no more storms to weather. There is only the stillness, the warmth, and the quiet assurance of continuity. The world is safe, the tribe is secure, and the story has reached its natural, peaceful conclusion as the last part of the night gives way to the first light of the morning. We feel a sense of profound closure. The journey through the frozen prehistoric world has brought us to a place of absolute tranquility, a state of grace, where the boundaries between the self and the world dissolve into the silver silence of the ice. The air is perfectly still, the stars are fading into the soft blue of the sky, and the only sound is the rhythmic, peaceful breath of the world in repose. The Ice Age is not a time of ending, but a time of waiting along. Slow pause before the world wakes up to a new and different morning. But for now, the morning is far away, and the rest is deep and well-earned. We let ourselves drift with the tribe, our thoughts becoming as light and soft as the falling snow, settling quietly on the landscape of the mind. The memory of the mammoths, the glow of the hidden springs, and the music of the sea ice are all held within us, a warm ember of history that will never truly go out. We are the watchers of the echoes, the keepers of the frozen stories, and we find our rest in the quiet, enduring beauty of the great winter. The world is asleep, held in the cold, loving embrace of the prehistoric night, and all is as it should be. The fire is out, the stars are gone, and the ice is steady. In this perfect, frozen moment, there is only the peace, the deep, quiet, and eternal sleep of the Ice Age, where the echoes of life fade into the silence of time, leaving only the soft, rhythmic breath of the earth. The Valley of the Pillars remains, a silent witness to the passing of the ages, and the glaciers continue their slow, majestic march toward the horizon. But here, in the heart of the circle, the humans are at rest. their spirits at peace in the beautiful, frozen eternity of the Great White. The story is finished, the journey is done, and the world is held in a state of perpetual, shimmering grace. Sleep now, held in the memory of the ice, and let the quiet strength of the ancient world carry you into a rest that is as deep and lasting as the glaciers themselves. The echoes are silent, the night is over, and the world is at peace.